Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you're not in Kansas anymore. You're on Pandora. In the famous words of Saeed Baba, let's dance. This tape is entitled Aliens Exposed. The first thing we want to talk about is Elvis Presley. And all you should know that we talk about Elvis Presley a lot as being a Venerian. Because if you notice, the Venerians have black hair. They can't grow hair on their face, right? They have a Bobby doll, smooth, baby face look. The Venerians are originally from Aldebaran, who migrated to Venus as refugees, right? Elvis Presley and a couple more other guys we're going to get into in the tape came from Venus, right? With Val Thor, we're going to get into them too, right? And Elvis Presley moved his way amongst the scene because all these aliens, they come down here and they usually get in the celebrity limelight, right? The best way to hide somebody is to hide them right in your face, right? So these extraterrestrials, they come down and they get in the limelight, right? Elvis Presley got in the limelight. In 1962, Elvis Presley left the planet, or Elvis left the building. And what they did is they hired an Elvis Presley lookalike named Johnny Horror, who looked identical to Elvis Presley. They hired him to play Elvis up until 1977. Then Johnny Horror came out as Elvis Presley lookalike. And how you know that it was a lookalike? Because the long sideburns. You notice that after a certain point, Elvis Presley began to wear the long sideburns. And Venerians can't grow hair that far down on their face. That's how you know there was a switch that happened. So what they did is they hired Elvis Presley lookalike to cover for the fact that Elvis Presley was an extraterrestrial from Venus. They hired Johnny Horror to play Elvis up until 1977. Then what they did is they created these dolls. They got these advanced dolls, right, that they could create. These wax dolls, right? These Elvis Presley wax dolls. And with these wax dolls, they used to fake a lot of people's funeral, right? And the same in the case of Biggie Smalls. Biggie Smalls, or what I said, he was an extraterrestrial, but Biggie Smalls faked his death because you could tell they had two different caskets. They had two different caskets. They had a gray casket during the funeral. Then after the funeral, as they were carrying him out, he had a mahogany burgundy casket. So they faked his death using these wax dolls. And a lot of people say, like, why would they fake Biggie's death? Just like they faked Tupac's death. These deaths were fake to cover up the Bill Clinton scandal, right? The different Bill Clinton scandals. We started this West Coast, East Coast beef between Tupac and Biggie. And if you go back, Tupac and Biggie, at a certain point, they was on stage and they was doing a reenactment where they got into it on a song called Party and Bullshit, doing a reenactment where they got into it, and then they just started rapping. Right? If you want to get into it a little bit more, go watch a movie called Wag the Dog. It's a movie out called Wag the Dog. Go watch that movie and you'll get a better understanding on how the theatrics plays a part and how movies are designed to move you and me, right? But like I say, Elvis Presley, they faked his death in 1977. But the truth of the matter is, the real Elvis left in 1962, and the being by the name of Johnny Horror took over as being Elvis. And you can tell because he began to grow the long sideburns, right? And the Venerians didn't grow hair that long on the side of their face, right? They don't grow hair on their face, period. And there are many other people who look similar to Elvis that goes to Las Vegas and get jobs as Elvis lookalikes. But Johnny Horror is the original Elvis lookalike hired by the government to play Elvis, to cover up the fact that Elvis was a Venerian from Venus. And the same is in the case of Elizabeth Taylor, who was a Venerian, right? Who lived incognito on Earth as an actress, right? And like I say, she left about around the same time as Elvis. And they hired a lookalike to play Elizabeth Taylor. Because what they do is they hire these lookalike, right? And her lookalike died on March 23rd, 2011. But the real Elizabeth Taylor left the planet in 1962, right? With Elvis Presley and the rest of the Venerians. In 1962, they hired Phyllis Shelton to play Elizabeth Taylor when she left the planet, right? And faked her death in 2011, right? She was hired to play Elizabeth Taylor and played Elizabeth Taylor all the way up until her death in 2011. But the real Elizabeth Taylor left the planet in 1962. Joseph Smith, who started the Mormons, was a Venerian, right? who supposedly was assassinated at the age of 39, right? Because you gotta keep in mind, some of these extraterrestrials who come down, they start religious organizations, right? And Joseph Smith was one of these guys, man, that came and started his own religion, but he was a Venerian, right? Also, his brother named Hiram Smith started the Church of the Latter-day Saints. He told you these aliens come down and start their own church or their own followings, right? Like in the case of Satuk. And these beings, Hiram Smith and Joseph Smith and his brother had their ship parked over the Illinois River, had their ship parked in Illinois, June 23rd, 1844. Hiram Smith and his brother Joseph Smith and a couple more Venerians who accompanied them left because there were people trying to kill them. So they left on their ship to go back to Venus, right? So a lot of this stuff people ain't gonna be able to handle, man. They ain't gonna be able to handle the truth. The truth these days is now being revealed and unfolded to you at a rapid, alarming speed. And right? And some of this stuff people are afraid. Fear holds you back. Fear keeps you from entering into the kingdom of heaven. So we just bringing these things to you to open up your eyes to show you how serious this thing is and how these beings are really extraterrestrial who've been living amongst you the whole time and how you can expose them and see them. Master Farad Muhammad of the Nation of Islam, and you can clearly see the connection between all of these Venerians, right? Which explains why Elijah Muhammad was so genius. He was taught by an alien, right? Elijah Muhammad was telling them how much the planet weighed, right? Elijah Muhammad was telling them how fast the planet is spinning. Elijah Muhammad was telling them the distance of Pluto in the early 60s. And the government and the science community still haven't unfolded their information yet. So, and Elijah Muhammad says Master Farad Muhammad taught him, right? And he was an extraterrestrial, a Venerian. You can, like I say, you can clearly see the connection between all of them, between the hairstyle, the face, and the skin, which explains why the Nation of Islam don't wear no beard, because they following the Venerians. The Venerians couldn't wear no beard. Master Farad Muhammad was a Venerian, right? Thank you, Baba. Also, Marilyn Monroe, who was a Venerian, right? Her hair was originally black, and she dyed that color, right? Marilyn Monroe was an extraterrestrial Venerian from Venus, who unfortunately was murdered by the reptilians, demigods, right? Because of her influence on Kennedy. You see, Marilyn Monroe was a Venerian. The Venerians are peaceful people. And she was influencing him to stop the war. And the dark government wanted to cut that connection off. So they killed her by poisoning her and smothering her with a pillow as a warning to Kennedy to stop what he was doing. Because they felt like the Venerian Marilyn Monroe was influencing Kennedy. And she was influencing them to stop the war, to do peace. Right? And that's not part of the Dragon's agenda. Peace. So Kennedy was getting ready to talk because he knew what was going on, so they whacked him. Well, he told his brother about it, Robert Kennedy, that he knew that Marilyn Monroe was a Venerian and that she was influencing Kennedy to stop the war, to bring peace and expose the secret hidden reptilians. So they all had to go, you know. But this is the things that are going on that are top secret that are being revealed to you today. And Robert Kennedy was very adamant about Val Thor being from Venus and him working for the government. And he wanted to put that information out. And the people who are in control did not want that information released. So Bobby Kennedy, to save face from the information being released that a Venerian is working for the government, was put out of business. And like they say, none of this is personal. It's business. Marilyn Monroe was the finest white girl during that time that you would ever see. I'm telling you now. But she was not a human. She was a Venerian. The Venerians have that perfect shape, the women, right? They don't got no fat. So you can kind of get a picture why Kennedy was hooked. Because not only was she an extraterrestrial from Venus, she was good looking, probably the best looking white girl on the planet at that time, right? And pretty much she set the marker for the beautiful white girl look, because people go out to the blondes. They want a blonde, a beautiful blonde, you know, because that's generated after Marilyn Monroe, right? It's a lot of so-called black girls who want to take their image after Marilyn Monroe as well, you know. but she was an extraterrestrial, right? From Venus.
The man in black had Marilyn Monroe phone tapped and was listening to her and Kennedy conversations. So they knew that she was trying to influence Kennedy, right, about revealing the extraterrestrial stuff and stopping the war and making peace on Earth. Because like we told you, the Venerians, refugees out of barons who were agreeable, who disagreed with the reptilian overlords, right? And they are here now. They were coming here trying to help to liberate the Earth humans from the reptilian overlords, right? But the reptilian overlords prevented these guys, right?
Okay. Moving along.
All these beings are also connected with Val Thor, right? The being from the continent Thor on Venus, right? And they lived underground on the continent Thor, right? In these advanced cities. Like we say, if you want to know about Venus, go back and get that tape we put out called Field Trip to Venus. I think it's Galactic 18. Right? Go back, get that tape, and we talk about Venus. We give you the whole rundown on Venus. But Val Thor came here about around 1953, 1954, and was working with the government in Nevada, right? He came with his wife, Jill Thor, and his brother, Don Thor, and his brother-in-law, Jack Thor. And the reason why they had the name Thor is because they were from the continent of Thor, right, on Venus, where they live underground.
And these people are extremely intelligent because Val Thor had an IQ of 1,200, meaning it was off the charts. And like I say, Robert Kennedy was trying to put information out about these beings. And like I say, they gave Val Thor a job at the Pentagon in 1957, all the way up until 1960, where he was advising, right, the leaders of the Pentagon and the president. Val Thor was a member of the High Council of 12 from Venus. At one point, after dealing with the Majestic 12 organization in Nevada, he ended up landing his ship at one point in Alexandria, Virginia, where he was then escorted to talk to the president. And he informed President Eisenhower that the world was in great danger if they continue with the wars that they got going on and the development of these atomic weapons. They're going to end up destroying the planet. And eventually, the government got scared of Val Thor and wanted to kill him. So in 1960, around March 1960, Val Thor and his crew got up out of here with a couple more other Venerians because the government knew these people were Venerians. They wanted to capture them because they were afraid of them living amongst humans and dissect them to see how they work. So most of the Venerians got out of here about around 1960, 1962. And the ones that was in the limelight, right, like Elizabeth Taylor, Marilyn Monroe, and Elvis Presley, they found lookalikes for these beings to replace them so they could eventually fake their deaths and say they died, right? Who we got next? Linda Travels is a Venerian, right? Susan Lucci, right? The actress was a Venerian. Also, the girl that played in Residential Evil is a Venerian. What's her name? Mila Jovovich. She got like a Russian last name. They call her Alice in that movie Residential Evil, right? She a Venerian.
Also, Nikola Tesla, who was a Venerian, right? Who came here in the late 1800s and worked with the government and gave them several advanced technologies dealing around alternative and direct current and magnetic energy. Technology that could advance the world out of the fossil fuel state. Meaning they use gas and oil and different things to power their equipment, right? This is still primitive compared to most of the advanced races in the galaxy. But Nikola Tesla, right, who also had lookalikes as well, gave the government this technology, like the hybrid engine and these different things, right, dealing around a direct and indirect current, right, or alternative current, was designed in the late 1800s by Nikola Tesla. And as usual, this being was scrutinized and mocked because of what he was doing, right? The reptilians didn't want this type of information out because it halted their information. He also was instrumental in designing the technology used in the Philadelphia experiment, which caused these beings to jump and move through time, right?
And when they did this, it opened up a vortex, right, in 1943, which opened up on a continuance every 10 years, which elders had to come in and repair that vortex because beings were being let in from other dimensions that were trapped that wasn't supposed to come here, right?
And most of Nikola Tesla's technology was taken over by another alien, right, by the name of Elon Musk. Elon Musk from a race of beings called the Telosians. And they have a city right there under Mount Sasha in California, right? And Bill Gates, right, the designer of Macintosh, is of this same people called the Telosians, right? And a man by the name of Billy Woodrick, right, is from the same race who came out and started talking about and telling about the city, their hidden city under Mount Sasha, right? So this explains how Bill Gates is able to design this computer situation is because he's not human. He's a Telosian. The Telosians can come to the surface, right? They live in the center of the earth or in advanced cave systems under the mountain, but they can come to the surface, right, and pass as humans. Some of the Telosians, the disagreeable ones, right, want to take over the surface. And some of them want to help the surface. And some of them have sent their children to live as humans on Earth, right, so they can pass off as humans, right? And a lot of the technology that has been put out since from the early 1900s to now has been due to extraterrestrials' involvement with the humans. A lot of extraterrestrials been bringing these different technologies in. Some who are disagreeable and want to bring technologies in to harm you and control you, right, and keep you primitive. And some extraterrestrials brought technology in and they wanted to make you advance. They wanted to advance you and speed you up. So this is what's been going on, right? Like we say, Bill Gates is from this race called the Telosians, right? They're living under Mount Sasha in California, right? And they're in connection with the Derus, right? We're going to go in on part 2 and talk more about the Telosians, right? And Bill Gates and the Telosians that are actually trying to pass as humans. Then you have, right, reptilian humanoids who are controlling your government now, who are really aliens who are trying to pass as humans. You have several different types. Ashtar Command look humanoids. Some of them come down and get into these entertainment businesses and go into Hollywood, right? They look Bobby doll looking. So they pass off. You wouldn't too much say nothing about them if they're a celebrity. If they come out, they look like Bobby doll looking. You see what I'm saying? It wouldn't be a problem. It makes it unobvious when they put them in these movies, right? Right, so we're going to get into that on the next show. We want to thank y'all for tuning in. We love you all. This is the Young Elder signing out. Wadu.